Number 39 is in the books, and you know you want to be tuned into this podcast because there is a lot to discuss, debate, maybe even complain. That's what we're here for. I am Justin LaBar here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast right after night 2 of WrestleMania 39 from SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, California. A historic weekend on many marks that we'll talk about. But first, let me get the introductions with my great panel that I have here tonight. Back again. I mean, he and I all week, we're just the podcast Iron Men together. I love it. He is former WWE referee. He's had a few Mania matches with himself in the stripes over the years. He is the one, the only Mr. Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, how are you tonight?
I'm doing fine. It's a hell of a weekend, and great to be joined by our good friend Raj.
And Raj Giri, yes, founder of WrestlingInc.com, no longer current owner, but still very much endorsing and supporting, and of course always has. He can always walk through the forbidden door to be on this podcast. Raj, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing good. Probably my last pay-per-view. But it was such a fun weekend. But really weird night. But we'll get into it.
Yeah, a lot about tonight to talk about. And again, we'll get to it here in a moment. Again, big thanks to everybody who is tuning in live. I know, we had the long intro there for a minute just to let everybody start to find their seats, as Jack Farmer would say. Really appreciate the live audience that we have that's tuning in the chat room. If you want to make sure you get your chat on the podcast here and make sure you do that super chat function. And again, if you're not watching us live, if it's too late for you, wherever you might be in the world, as I showed the global audience, checking in. If you're not tuning into us live, of course, we appreciate if you check out the archive video or audio only. Again, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, right here on YouTube, whatever you might be doing. We appreciate it. Hit the like button, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. This thing, we have a hell of a year lined up. We're already 4 months in, and we already have a hell of a year lined up here in the pro wrestling world. So this podcast has got a lot to look forward to, and we want you to come along and join us for it. First, let's do a news item. And normally going into WrestleMania, I kind of think, we're not going to have any news headlines. We're going to have enough to talk about with Mania. But I think this one draws the exception to my rule. We've long been hearing of the potential, especially since Vince McMahon came back into the fold with the company at the start of the year, that they could be up for sale, that he could be helping finish this transaction along. And it looks like we could be getting closer, and looks like we now might know the front runner in new potential ownership. According to CNBC, who reported this Sunday afternoon, the company is in advanced talks with the Endeavor Group. Now, the Endeavor Group is the ownership group that owns UFC, of course, Ultimate Fighting Championship, the leader in the MMA world. And the talk is that basically the way this would work is Endeavor would end up owning 51%, and then the other 49% would still be the ownership spread across the WWE shareholders. It's believed that Vince would still be kept on in the WWE board of directors. Endeavor then has their representation, and then of course Nick Khan would also serve as like a president on the wrestling side. In the report, no word about Triple H, Paul Levesque. One would hope, at least I would hope, that he gets to remain in his title position of head of the creative, but still a lot to wait for. We got to wait for an official announcement. Raj, I'll start with you as being more of the business and numbers guy. Your reaction to this, and are you surprised of Endeavor seemingly being the front runner here?
Well, I was surprised just because they just weeks ago said that they weren't interested. Like they were saying, like because of the debt that they had with the UFC, that they couldn't be in that pool. And then, today it comes out that they're the front leader. But before that, it makes complete sense. I mean, WWE, UFC, they have so many synergies, like with the live events. I mean, it's so similar. I mean, so many wrestling sites cover UFC, because it's so similar. So it makes a ton of sense. They're going to be under the same umbrella. They're going to be publicly traded together. And I think it's a no-brainer. And look, personally, I had a huge sigh of relief that it wasn't something else. And
I'll just go ahead and say it. Saudi Arabia. Can I just say it?
Go ahead and say it.
A huge sigh of relief that Saudi Arabia is not going to own WWE.
There you go. And I think look, look, I think as a fan, you're probably not going to see much difference. It's going to be mostly behind the scenes. It's going to be different TV deals. Endeavor is a way more well-oiled machine. WWE is they are a well-oiled machine, but Endeavor is a different animal. You're going to see the amount of money WWE brings in is going to just jump, exponentially under Endeavor. The one thing is that right now with the Peacock deal, they have a few more deals, few more years left. Once that's up, are they going to want to maximize those profits and have WrestleMania not as a free streaming deal, but as a pay-per-view deal, like they did with the UFC? All the major UFC pay-per-views right now are a separate paid entity, and I could see them looking at that and being like, hey, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, we should put that in the same model. So we'll see what happens. But I ultimately, as a fan, it's not a big deal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Jimmy, to Raj's point of they're going to want to maximize the profits, and so the changes they can make, of course, to how you view PLEs or go back to being pay-per-view. Another thing that's kind of scary too, though, is that this could mean job reduction. This could mean let's maximize profit by even more. How much expense can we get rid of in the corporate offices? And obviously I turn this to you because you've been an employee of WWE's and so like, what was your reaction in hearing Endeavor and knowing who they are, that they are in the advanced talks, as the report says?
No, I was twofold. Like you said, there is a potential here to maximize money potential, revenue generating for the company. That's for sure. And for shareholders as well, from a business standpoint, as Raj pointed out eloquently about the business side, which I could never do. He just he nailed it with all of that stuff. But from the other side, whenever there's an acquisition by another company, there's always a possibility of bringing in new people or downsizing. And downsizing seems to be the trend lately, not just in the sporting world, but all over the world. So there is a definite possibility there. The only thing is, you need to keep the key people in their key places. Like everybody's worried, well, they keep Triple H in charge of creative. Who else would you put there? Is there anybody in Endeavor that could handle the creative side of pro wrestling? Do you know what I mean? So as far as that goes, I don't think we're going to see a big difference, like Raj says, in the television production. What we see on television is all going to be the behind the scenes thing. And there is the definite possibility that there will be some people that are there with WWE that will no longer be there.
Yeah. It's
unfortunate.
It is.
And we did see that when the UFC got sold to Endeavor, there were a ton of layoffs. And Chuck Liddell was someone that thought he had a job for life with the UFC and, was let go. So anytime there's a acquisition, there's always going to be huge changes, but I will say this. I don't see Triple H being one of those.
Yeah. And, I think timeline wise, the fact that CNBC reported this today on, the second day of WrestleMania, advanced talks seem to have, details, 51%, 49%. Here's how it's going to, that kind of tells me that this is probably, it's probably it's not in ink yet, but it's, I got to think that they probably even know timeline wise when they're going to announce this, and that this, this was not an accident that this report came, on a Sunday. So we will see.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
And I think at times you look at certain stories and you kind of get the feeling of who leaked it,
Yeah.
And, when like Rolling Stone is reporting the Honky Tonk Man is going in the Hall of Fame, it's like, WWE sent that over. Right. And, anyway.
Unless it's a real, unless Endeavor's not who they want to sell to, and they have somebody else they want to, and they leak this just to try to drive that price up or try to, I don't know. But even in the report,
it's not the case. I reached out to WWE a few different people today. Clearly it's they're fine with it being out there.
Sure. A lot of super chats coming in. We appreciate it. Here's kind of my rule: super chats. If it's an opinion of wanting to talk about like if it's a question for us about a certain topic, I'm not gonna, because otherwise we'll never get through the show because we want to get through it. But if it is something that's like, if you just want to have your comment out there, I'll just throw it out there. And again, we might not react because we'll get to it. This one does hit right here on the moment though. Martin, thank you very much for the super chat, $4.99. He said, could the possibility of UFC acquiring WWE the reason that Roman retained? I mean, Jimmy, I mean, what do you think of when you hear something like
that? I don't know if that would be the reason for Roman retaining, and we're going to talk about this later. But is it a possibility that this being out there kind of changed people's ideas of what the finish of tonight's main event was going to be?
Raj, I mean, Roman Reigns is a very sexy attraction. He's got this 945-day thing going. Is it a case, if you truly are in transition, that you want to hand over to the new owners the proven commodity versus trying to do a brand new in the respects of he'd never been a world champion in the company, a brand new babyface?
You know, like I've been saying on my Twitter the last couple of weeks, like I think Cody is the right move, but I get wanting to stay with Roman. The business is the hottest that they've had in a long time. He's proven. Cody's not. We don't know, what will happen after he won the title. Like, is the interest still there? If Roman takes time off, does the interest remain? And we've seen a lot of times, Warrior won the title and boom, like the interest just steadily declined. And I don't know. I feel like I just feel like they know more than we do.
Sure.
And they see the numbers. I look at the numbers. Roman has been killing it. I still felt like this was the time to anoint a next top guy, but maybe they just felt like this wasn't the time for Roman to not be that guy when everything is so hot. Everything is on fire. Why risk it? So.
Yeah, and again, we will unpack a lot more of our opinions, breaking it down once we get to that main event. So stick around. So again, Ricky Bruno, I see your question about Roman. It's a very relevant one, but we'll get to it when we come to that time.
We will get to all the super chats. So
yeah, we'll get to all of it. I'll throw again. This one doesn't really as a question of us, but it's worth say Brian Barry. So Rock must have said yes to the match. That's one factor you can swirl around, think about. We'll get back to scenarios.
Rock, you can never take the Rock for his schedule because you never. He is the busiest man. Him and John Cena, you just can't count on their schedules from a year from now.
Brandon Hall, $10. He says, I'm jumping right to this. No excuses for WWE anymore. They've completely dropped the ball with Roman and Cody thing. You'll never be able to recreate this moment that you had right here. So that's one to think about. Let it swirl around as we get back to it. Brian Cyrus says, feels like Triple H booked night 1 and Vince McMahon booked night 2. Splitting duties. Huh?
Tremendous.
Dude, night 1 felt magical in a lot of ways. Not to sound corny, but it felt just amazing. And night 2 felt standard. I don't know. I felt like there was a difference.
Yeah, again, we will definitely
back.
Once we get through all of it, we'll kind of figure out where the nights rank, where the show overall ranks. Kier just came in and said they choose a 1,000-day reign. So yeah, it looks like he would possibly be heading towards that, depending on how we space the booking out. Just a shout out to Will. No comment, just 15 Canadian. So Will, thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Will.
We appreciate it. Hey. And Jimmy, we got a question for you, and then again, because we're not going to go into every single spot in the match. I don't mind doing this now since Majestic Marie with $10. Thank you, Marie. She says, hi, I love y'all. Question for Jimmy, if I've asked before, sorry. Why is it legal to use tables in traditional matches? It has always baffled me that they can be used with the referee staring straight at them. Jimmy, there is a big table spot in the main event. Give me the referee's interpretation.
Okay, here's the thing. It depends. If he pulls the table out from under the ring, then that is a disqualification. Using the table at ringside, it's considered part of the equipment around the ring, like the stairs are. When you're outside the ring and you throw someone into the stairs, if you pick up the stairs and you hit them with it, that's different. But if you throw them into the stairs because they're there, then it's not a disqualification. Same with the tables. If you throw someone through a table that's already there as part of the set, then it's not a disqualification. It's like, you know what I mean? If you could pick up a ring post, for example, and swing and hit somebody with it, that would be a disqualification. But you can run them into the ring post. You can run them into the barricades.
That's why when the barricade breaks, it's okay. We don't call the DQ.
Yes.
Right. There you go, Jimmy.
So,
no other podcast are you going to get a former WWE referee who's going to break down the rule book for you?
Absolutely. And I did have one more question for you, because tonight you had like a lot of 2 and 9/10, counts. Are you aware of that ahead of time? Because that's tough to time that to where if you don't know, it's easy to hit that 3. How often are you aware of like, this is how many of those we're going to do? And
well, for me personally, I would be there for the discussions, for everything, and I would try to be aware of everything they needed me for, and especially on those close false finishes where the referee is important in that regard. You have to be aware. I mean, sometimes they say, "Well, just treat it like a shoot," and you can. And they can kick out. And like I mentioned this to Justin before, if the referee does hit 3, even though someone kicked out, they can wave it off. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that even looks pretty good, depending on how it comes across on television, how it's shot.
Jimmy, my scare is always, I'm hoping that the referee, and WWE's referees are all pretty good. You're not in WWE if you're not a good ref. My fear always is making sure the refs are screaming the number loud enough. Make sure they're screaming 1 and 2, because I always think you're in the moment, you got all this going on, adrenaline's pumping, crowd's going. You take a spear from Roman and your body hits the ground, right? And, you're just, or hits the mat rather. I could see how it could easily just be disoriented for a split second. And if that split second is if you already missed the 1, and then you hear the 2, and like you feel like you could miss the kick out, like you could force the ref's hand essentially. So it's like I always that's the thing I'm always like nervous about, is hoping the refs are screaming loud enough that the competitor can hear which count we're at.
No, absolutely. And that's the other important thing, too, that they got to remember is not only screaming loud enough, but position yourself where the guy being pinned, a guy or girl being pinned can see you and see your count, because a lot of them go off of vision as well, seeing your arm going up and down. And I've told this story before. There was one time, I know it's TV and you don't want to block the hard camera or the ringside cameras, but there's one time where I made a false finish count on the outside of the ring. I slid out under the bottom rope to the side and counted on the apron. You know what I mean? 1, 2, kick out, got back in, finished the match. I get back to Gorilla, and Vince pulls the glasses down and does this. And I went, uh-oh. She says, "Why'd you slide out of the ring to count that false finish?" I said, well, Vince, it was the only way I was able to position myself where I could see the shoulders and the one being pinned can see me counting. He said, "Okay," pushed them back up, and that was it. And I went, "Oh," and Gerald Briscoe, who was at Grace, he goes, "Good, but go."
And to the mark of Roman maybe going for the 1,000 day. I'm sorry if I don't know how to pronounce it. Anarud. Saying WWE passed.
I think.
Yeah, WWE passed on Cody for a round number. Devastated. We will get there. Let's go ahead and jump into the opening match. And again, keep the super chats coming. We will
like 4 hours.
Yeah, we will acknowledge all of them. We appreciate it, but we will get to all of them. So if you have one, if you have one for Brock and Omos, now would be the time to start typing your Brock and Omos.
Not one yet.
Brock versus Omos, kicking off WrestleMania night 2. This is Brock Lesnar's 12th WrestleMania match. All these fun stats are mostly provided by Michael Cole, so I want to make sure I get attribution now. Omos versus Brock. The first couple minutes here, first 2 minutes basically is just Omos with his offense, just throwing Brock around, bear hugging, suplex, and then finally Brock starts to rally for his comeback, hits I think 3 or 4 suplex cities, and finally after a little struggle he does get Omos, the Nigerian giant, 7'4", up for the F5, hits it, ding, ding, ding. Brock Lesnar wins this one, just under 5 minutes, exactly, I think, time-wise, what it needed to be. Raj, Brock going over, I'm not surprised. That was my prediction. Did he elevate Omos in any which way?
I think so. I think Omos felt like a threat. Brock's sold for Omos like he has sold for very few people, where he's running away from him. I don't remember the last time I've ever seen that with Brock. On Raw a couple weeks ago, or last week. I thought this match was perfect for what it was. It was a freak show. And this was so last night, my daughters, they had birthday stuff. They didn't watch WrestleMania with me. Tonight they watched it and they were just glued. Like the whole, Brock versus the Giant. And they're like, there's no way Brock can get him up. And, I was like, I'm not going to spoil anything, but he's going to, And it was one of those that WrestleMania is not always for the hardcore fans. You throw in all this stuff for the casuals that are just tuning in or people that have no idea what's going on. And I had that last night. For the first time in like 8 years, I had people over watching WrestleMania, because usually I'm either there or I'm doing, I'm working that night. And last night was one of the ones I wasn't. And all the stuff that they sprinkled in with George Kittle and McAfee and all this stuff was stuff that they were popping for. And they were like, oh my God, they got McAfee. And, it drew them in. And I just felt like Brock and Omos was kind of that kind of same thing, where it was a freak show. You see this gigantic dude. Most people know who Brock Lesnar is. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great opener. And I thought Brock did, he didn't look like it was a joke. He made it seem like it was a legit threat, and it made it feel that much more big, in my opinion.
Josh Muller, see your super chat. We'll get to that in a bit too. Shabelsky, same thing. Jimmy, Omos and Brock. I think you and I both thought Brock would win this. I got to say, again, going back to our news story just a minute ago, it did make me kind of think a little bit more about Brock's future with WWE, if in fact Endeavor is going to buy the company, because they certainly they've cashed some checks on Brock Lesnar's good business that he does for an audience that wants to watch physicality. Your thoughts on this opener for night 2?
That could be a good reason why Brock did go over, as you said. But it was what it needed to be. And did it elevate Omos? I think if I can make one tiny critique, I don't mind Brock going over on Omos. I just wish that, with what we've seen in the last 2 nights with, people kicking out of these big moves. Yes, he hits the F5. But Brock, before going for the pin, goes, drags him up, struggles to get the big man up, puts him up one more time and gives him at least a second one before pinning him, because people have been kicking out of people's finishes pretty much all weekend long, and that gives, a little bit of elevation, a little bit to Omos, because he had to hit him twice. Even though he didn't kick out, Brock felt the need to hit him at least twice with his F5 to beat him. And that's just a small critique.
And you know what I hate about pro wrestling right now? Is that people can take a chainsaw to the gut and they kick out at 2, but a roll up that ends the match.
Oh, that's the most devastating move in wrestling right now.
Right.
Raj, I said on Wednesday, whenever the new AEW video game comes out, the roll up better be the highest rated finisher.
I mean, it's not just AEW; it's across the board.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brock did sell as he was leaving the ringside area just before they did cut to the whatever video package went next. He did certainly sell that he had just been in a battle. And let me clarify, because I know somebody will call me out on it. I guess technically Brock never worked in UFC since it's been bought by Endeavor. But point being, Endeavor has possession of the financial records, and they've seen what Brock did for UFC. So my point still stands.
And really quickly, sorry to cut you off there, Justin. You said something very important. Brock's selling tonight was awesome.
Yeah.
You could tell Brock has respect for Omos. Like a lot of fans, maybe not, but you could tell Brock does.
Well, and to that, Raj, I know like Omos people kind of think like, oh, like they they compare, oh, this is another great Khali and this,
right?
And it's like, no, it's like if you actually listen to some podcasts or listen to some interviews, like Nash, Undertaker, like big guys who I think have some credibility, especially Taker, have said
shit.
have said like they've been at the PC, they like Omos, they think he's got potential, he does understand what they're trying to teach him. And so I think if those guys, and especially Taker, who Brock has a lot of respect and has a rapport with, if Taker says, hey, this kid's worth it, I think that's going to go someplace to Brock. That's going to matter to him.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like he's got some awkwardness that will come with experience, but expecting him to work like Kenny Omega or something is ridiculous. He shouldn't.
No.
He should be a giant. He is a giant, and that's to me, wrestling is best when it's a buffet. When you have you all these different acts, and Omos is one of those different kinds of acts that it just makes it fun, and it makes your friends that come to watch be like, "Oh my God, what is this?" You know?
Yeah, it's a buffet. Raj, I had a similar thing with my kids last night watching Cena for a moment, but I can certainly see it with Brock and Omos. It's an attraction, and I'm the WrestleMania post press conference is going on right now. I'm kind of getting fed some stuff over here on my phone and on my chat. Apparently, I believe Triple H said that overall between the two nights, the overall gate did over $21 million. So for everybody who thinks that or anybody who thinks that they didn't never mind how they booked it and results. Again, we're talking about. But if you don't think that advertised was a good show, there's 21 million to shut you up.
And by no means am I the only person that's ever said this, but I've been calling for 2-night WrestleManias for like 8 years.
Well, you know what, Raj, I think, and again, we can kind of talk about this when we do the overall where do we want to rank this. But I think at this, I don't know if you can't ever go back to a one-night Mania. It's just at this point with the amount of talent they have and the way they do this, at least for as long as they're on Peacock, because with Peacock, it's you do a match and you either have subscribers that are this tier that have ads free. You can't have a match going on while ads are being served. So they end up just basically showing you WWE vignettes for the ad free people, or they show you Peacock commercials. So it's like, you really can't. So just for the pacing and timing wise, the way these things are going to go, you can't go back to one night anymore. And all your biggest festivals, all your biggest things, the Super Bowl still one night, but every other big entertainment thing is starting to expand to multiple nights. So
my personal opinion is NFL playoffs. If they made those Nick Khan says this all the time, and that's where I actually got the idea from. Like, if you were to make those destination events where the location is, decided way ahead of time, those become like multi-million-dollar shows, as opposed to just doing it at the home team at the time. And I think the NBA, man, I look at the NBA finals. If it was one game and it's a destination game, it's money. It's a Super Bowl type of thing.
Like both of you have said, WrestleMania now is a several day destination.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just
it a year in advance.
And you can plan for it, and you're going to be there for SmackDown, the Hall of Fame, whatever's going on at the local convention center, and all the appearances and that sort of thing, and the 2-night Mania, and the Monday after Raw as well. So it is a several day destination. And
this will all be relevant to keep in mind if everything we've talked about with the sale moves forward. If it happens with Endeavor, if that becomes true, and if the viewing of a premium live event for WWE goes back to what it is now with UFC, the fact that Mania is 2 nights, what will the pricing be? Will you have to pay that kind of price for 2 nights in a row, or will you get some kind of bundle? I mean, there's gonna be a lot of things to watch if they move off of Peacock.
Right. And we still got a few years on that, because that Peacock deal has, starting 2021, it's a 5-year deal. So we got a few years, but I mean, they're seeing gigantic success with the UFC and having the big events on, separate pay-per-view models. So I could easily see that if, the money's there.
I thought I saw Nick Khan sitting ringside it. And I thought I saw it again last night, but maybe I was incorrect. I don't know, but I know we know that they're entertaining people on the corporate level, so I wouldn't be surprised. All right, moving on here. Next match, just like night one, they decided to put the Fatal 4-Way Tag match. This one's being the women's second. This is Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Natalya and Shotzi versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. Kind of the same as the men's counterpart on night one. Not given. You're not going to give so much time to it, so you're just going to kind of get a few high spots in where you can. Ultimately, though, Ronda really playing it to the crowd that really gave her a lot of heel heat reaction, and then she snaps that armbar on to Shotzi, who very quickly taps out. So Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler stand tall. Jimmy, again, this was my prediction of who I thought, just based upon the landscape. Your thoughts on the outcome and how they got there?
I thought the match was fine. There wasn't it wasn't blow away or anything like that. But the ladies worked very hard throughout this. I think the right team did go over. The crowd just didn't seem too enthused. Whether it was my TV or whatever the case may be, I just felt it was a little quiet during that match. I don't know what the crowd was expecting. I thought the ladies did a good job. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't like over the top good, but it was a good match.
Raj, taking into account what your answer is going to be to the same thing I just asked Jimmy, where are we? We know she's main evented and she's been in some high profile Mania matches in her career. Where are we with the Ronda Rousey WWE career path?
God, that's a tough one because she is the most well-known star on this show overall, right? Like more people probably know Ronda Rousey than anyone else that was on the show. But Jesus, has her star fallen? And I thought this match was there. It was nothing. Gosh, you know, one of the things I feel like I give Triple H all the credit in the world for was how much he was able to elevate the women's divisions over the years in NXT. But in this Triple H era, we haven't had strong singles feuds with the women. Like Bianca Belair and Asuka, she was just spitting goo, and you know, like that was the feud. And Asuka and Charlotte, they had a couple things here and there in the last few weeks, but it, you know, like the storylines were not as good as, you know, the other storylines. Ronda, I just think she should have been treated like a Brock Lesnar, like a special attraction, not just a weekly character. And I just feel like she's just there now. She's not special anymore, where she should be. And I don't know if you can put that back in the bottle.
Yeah, it's ironic, like you kind of were alluding to. You know, Triple H was kind of praised when he was controlling NXT for how revolutionary and how advanced the women's, you know, storylines were there in comparison to Raw or SmackDown. And you're right, you know, and we'll get to Bianca and Asuka in a moment here, but you're right. There really hasn't been, you know, a ton. You know, Rhea Ripley to me has been the breakout star last year, but it's not been any one feud. It's just been her. It's just been her.
Yeah. Her and Dominic kind of like
yeah.
So
all right, well, so now we'll watch Ronda and Shayna win. So obviously they have things lined up for them.
And clearly Ronda is very injured still because they had her come in at the very end to do, you know, just the armbar.
Yeah. So they protected her very much in this match. So
they did. Joel Yednick, I just saw a huge super chat for you. Really appreciate it, Joel. That is maybe some of the $1 million questioning that we were gonna.
1 second.
Joel, that is some of our $1 million question that we are going to get to. So if you can hang on, we will get to it. But I see you, and thank you very much for tossing some bucks across the table for that. Raj a minute ago used the words and phrasing of bear and what have you. Talk about bear. Bobby Lashley comes out looking sharp, hoists up the Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy that he won Friday at SmackDown, put it back down, posed a little bit, went back, grabbed the trophy up again, hoisted it up, and that was that. Raj, as fellow Colorado native with him, I fully expected at this point that we were just stalling for somebody to do something on the stage with him, and then they just cut to video.
I've seen Bobby do more, you know, at the driving range when I'm with him. You know, like that was, I was shocked. I was like, at least having, you know, LA Knight, I thought they were going to do something with them. You know, LA Knight's been getting super over. The fact that he keeps bringing up like you can't have a WrestleMania in LA without LA Knight, I thought they were going to do something. Yeah, I felt like tonight there was just something just kind of off, and it just didn't connect. Like last night, I thought everything connected, and then tonight it just felt like it was just kind of off, and that the Lashley thing was part of it. It just felt like you're expecting something and nothing happens.
And LA Knight came down. LA Knight was in the final four, Jimmy, on SmackDown at Battle Royal. which of course the Battle Royal was in LA. It's just at the Crypto.com arena, which is where they're at tomorrow for Raw. And when you watch that Battle Royal, the fans they wanted LA Knight to be the victor. And obviously he wasn't. He got to the Final Four, but then he was the first of the Final Four to be eliminated. And so I don't know if, I don't know if the choice not to do something LA Knight is because all the fans are just, whatever we give them is not going to be enough for what they want, or, and then this Bobby thing. I personally, fantasy booking Jimmy, I'm thinking, all right, he's out here doing this. He's in street clothes, which is smart. He's not going to be dressed for competition because he doesn't have a match.
Right.
Do we just even get just parlor tricks of Bray Wyatt or Uncle Howdy or something to set up something for the future if we're going to go back? I don't know, but what did you make of this very awkward 60 seconds?
No, that's what it was. A very awkward 60 seconds. It felt very random, and it felt like it was just something to break up going to the next match. And the formula of we have a match, then we have this video package to set up the next match, and then we go to the next match. That sort of thing. It just felt like something randomly thrown in there to kind of, I don't want to say break up the monotony of the structure, so to speak, but it just, why? There was at least have some minor physicality, or like you said, something on the screen, something to tease something else, plant the seed. There wasn't even a seed planted.
It almost felt like it's almost worse than they did. It's almost like, just keep him off the show and out of sight, out of mind. Almost showing him out there just reminds me, Bobby Lashley's not featured on WrestleMania tonight.
Yeah, and the Bray Wyatt thing. Obviously there are reasons why he's not on the show, but if you're teasing Lashley, people are expecting something, and to just have him come out carrying the trophy, I don't know. I just thought it was weak.
So to the Bray Wyatt thing, real quick, this is a little just side note here. Right after, as soon as I'm watching my Twitter timeline, as soon as they ended the quick Bobby Lashley thing, Bray gets all of his fiend, all of his stuff. It's all done here in Pittsburgh. It's been documented. I'm not like breaking any news here, but like there's a team of the horror film people here that do a lot of his stuff. They do the fire, or whatever, and then they've done other stuff for like Oscar and other people. As soon as that thing ended, a particular person involved with it tweeted, "Did I miss something?" ? And then had a GIF, almost to like allude to like I was expecting something else and I didn't. They then since have deleted said tweet. So I just throwing that out there. I was like, I didn't screen grab it. I didn't whatever, but I saw it, and then when I went back to see again because I wanted to see what the comments were, it was gone. So well,
I know what the stuff with Wyatt is, and it's not a creative thing, and when he's able to return, he will. So
hopefully he's okay, because I know there's a lot of obviously he's missed out on early in his career. He got a Mania match with Taker, he got a Mania match with Cena, but obviously his last Mania before he was let go, a lot of creative questioning with what happened with he and Orton, and then this,
the creatives with Orton sucked, but this had nothing to do with creative.
Right.
Scott Langford saying what we've heard here again. Scott, thank you for the Canadian Bucks. The two nights felt like they were booked by two completely different people. It does have that feel.
I thought tonight was a fun show, but it didn't feel like last night was just like boom, boom, boom. It just felt like it was just like a roller coaster. Whereas tonight it just felt like, All
right, fine. Well, something that was not maybe it's the highlight of the night if you like hard-hitting physicality, is your Intercontinental title match, triple threat match between Gunther, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus. It is your Mike's Harder Lemonade sponsored match, which I appreciated for some reasons. Gunther, 295 days, if I have it right, the longest in this century that anybody's held the IC title for. All I can really say in describing this match, a lot of chops.
Oh my
God. Lot of chops. Get some cold Mike's Harder Lemonade cans to put on these gentlemen's chests because they need to reduce the swelling and redness. A lot of people are picking a new champion here. I stuck with Gunther, and that's what ended up happening. I'll give my reasons after the other gentlemen here on the panel do. Gunther power bombs both men. It's kind of like Drew and Sheamus kind of canceled each other out with their passion to become IC champion. Jimmy, this is one of those ones where if you come across anybody who's going to give you 15 minutes of the time and they want to be convinced that, that fake stuff, it don't hurt, put this one in the DVD player.
Oh my goodness! You talk about ice. You talk to the Mike's Harder cans. No, the trainers' ice packs probably disappeared after this match, and anybody who needed one in the matches following that probably couldn't find any because these guys probably took them all up. And you talk about leaving marks. My goodness, their chests, their backs. It was hard hitting. It was physical, and it almost, in a way, it almost felt like they liked it that way. These guys, they thrive on it. They excel at it. But you want to talk about three tough gentlemen putting on one hell of a match. And not only that, they told a great story in this three-way match. And they got the people invested. And even in the false finishes there, which was a theme throughout the night, though, when certain false finishes, people were reacting like, oh, I thought that was it. I thought that was it. But the main thing is the right guy, of course, armchair quarterbacking after the fact. The right guy went over because it did elevate him as the IC champion, and it elevated the title itself as well. Made it feel that much more important.
Raj, one of my favorite things of this current regime of creative, we'll just call it, is the freedom that has been allowed to the announcers. Last night, Michael Cole was talking about Antonio Inoki submissions and all these things. He's giving out all kinds of fun facts all the time now, stuff that he tended to be handcuffed on prior to when we knew Vince was always on the headset. Michael Cole was at one point laughing, and he said, "I don't mean to laugh as this violence is happening," but he was just laughing in all shock, and he was standing up the whole time. This match in some ways kind of really represents like the fun that it feels like the talent are getting to have right now.
I hope you don't mind if we take a brief moment away from this topic, because you brought up Michael Cole. And I feel like Michael Cole is a really good announcer that's always had handcuffs on. And you're seeing it now. Like when he's free, he's so good. And I just think like he's underappreciated in a lot of ways. So I feel like, it's kind of one of those situations where it might be too late, where everyone's still like, the hardcores are like, Michael Cole, blah, 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 blah. But he is a really talented announcer, and you're seeing it.
Mm-hmm. And it was a choice. I first of all, I completely agree with everything you said. People don't realize how tough it is to do that job that he's doing, to have the passion that he has, just to be out there also and not have to get up and go take a pee break. He doesn't get to do that. He's really good. I agree. And it's a choice by WWE. You have two nights of Mania, and you have 4 commentators who are on the air each week for Raw and SmackDown total. It was a choice for them to say, we're going with Cole and Corey both nights. And by the way, Michael Cole is the best play-by-play guy they have, and Corey is the best color guy. So I get put your best on both nights. But in the past, they've mixed it up. Or we've seen them. Oh, it's a Raw match. We're going to bring the Raw guys. We got the SmackDown. And I think it was a really good choice to say, you know what? No, we're putting our 2 best. No, Kevin Patrick, Wade, nothing against you, but we're putting you on the pre-show. You can be part of it there, but we need the best of the best for these moments. And I have no problem with that. And I think that was an interesting choice that they did make.
Yeah,
and saying that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. It's just that you talk about how good Michael Cole is and how good Corey Graves is, and it's also about chemistry, working together. These guys do have great chemistry, and they do gel well together. And I'll let you get to what you were going to say, Rush.
I was just going to say, I try not to say anything negative about, except for QT Marshall, but Kevin Patrick, I think he's such a nice guy. He really tries hard. He's just not the guy, like to carry a 3-hour Raw every week. And you saw it tonight. The vote of confidence wasn't there.
I kind of agree. I mean, I kind of think just on the Raw thing, I think Vic doesn't, and Vic had a little short time on Raw, and things got really, that was when things were really shaky internally. I was still when Heyman was in charge of Raw and Bischoff it was crazy times. I still think Vic, who's on NXT, I think if given another chance on Raw,
Vic is great.
And with Corey Graves, or Barrett or whoever. But I think especially with Corey, because he has a rapport with Corey.
Kevin Patrick, you don't agree with me?
No, I do agree. I'm saying I think Vic. I would rather see Vic in that Raw spot. Try to put him with Corey.
Gotcha.
And I think that would. That would work. So real quick, wrapping up Gunther. I agree. Gunther retaining, I like it. It continues to elevate the title. He's going to continue this run. My biggest thing, too, with Gunther is obviously Triple H and company like him. That's very clear. Triple H retweeted quickly the WWE official Twitter graphic announcing that Gunther's reign's continuing. Like, he likes his old... I think Gunther probably reminds him of Killer Kowalski, who trained him. Gunther, he needs to remain the IC champion because the moment that he drops it, the only logical place for him to go is in the world title picture. And especially now that we know who our world champion still is, it doesn't make sense for that to be now. So that's my whole reasoning of why I predicted Gunther. And I predicted Gunther thinking that maybe Cody would still win, but I didn't think that Gunther's going to be the first guy that Cody steps up to. So all those things factoring in, Gunther has been a phenomenal IC champion. Again, definitely the best in the last 22 years and then some. But if you're watching or listening to us, have not checked out Mania, if you're looking for us to give you the highlights of where to fast forward to, definitely watch this match. This one, it'll make your chest hurt just watching it. I we'll say that much.
I'm not a guy that feels like someone needs to get the shit kicked out of them for it to be a good match, but this was awesome.
Yeah.
Real quick, this is a question again. I could hold it until the end, but I feel like we could jump in for a minute because it's kind of like a sidebar.
I think we got a lot now.
We do. It's great. I'm really trying to sort, but I feel like this one's a sidebar that we can jump off on because people still want to touch on this issue. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing the best I can here. Will, more Canadian. Jimmy, you must have been passing out flyers today. Will says, I'm concerned about AEW personnel not wanting to come over to WWE with this Cody result. Is this justified? I think asking is his worry, is his concern justified?
No.
Yeah, Jimmy, go ahead and start here.
No, I don't think that's a concern to be justified with. It's about getting, to do what you want to do, so to speak. Not everybody can be champion when they come over. It may get some people thinking, did they do this to Cody to send a message? If that's your thought process, I don't think that was the reason for what they did tonight. I think there was a different reason behind it. And again, we'll discuss it later. But I don't think people should be worried about the result of tonight's match being a reason why people will not want to go from one company to another.
Yeah, Raj, I mean, I've long said this, that obviously just Cody coming over and just being as featured as highly as he is a big deal. But I've said this, that the advantage that WWE has is the 5-6 decades they have ahead of AEW, which is pretty much all of your AEW roster, the exception of maybe like Eddie Kingston and a few wild cards. All of your AEW roster grew up watching WrestleMania. They grew up dreaming about being in the main event of WrestleMania, not being in the main event of Double Nothing, because Double Nothing didn't exist. So I always say that's the advantage that WWE has is to fulfill that childhood goal.
I just feel like you watched this weekend and it just felt like the Super Bowl, right? Like it just felt larger than life. Whereas, and again, this is not anti-AEW or anything like that. AEW shows kind of look the same. Most WWE pay-per-views mostly look the same. But WrestleMania and SummerSlam and where they're going in these stadiums, it's larger than life. And I just think like you see where Cody was at 2 years ago, feuding, solving racism in a promo with Ogogo. And, like it's a different level where he's at right now. He didn't win. It doesn't matter. He was on this gigantic stage that most people can only dream of. And WWE, they're kind of in this stage right now, and I think Nick Khan has a lot to do with it. Like you're seeing this with next month they're in Puerto Rico, and Bad Bunny's going to be heavily involved. They are just sharks right now with the business end, and they are
marketing sharks.
Yes,
sharks.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not in a negative way, in a positive way.
Yeah.
They're just killing it right now. Mm-hmm. And AEW has kind of been slipping a little bit as far as their ratings, pay-per-view, year over year, everything returning to the same spot, year over year. And I just think, with Cody, I think I would have had him win, but with Vince, I had no faith in that regime. With Triple H, I feel like everything has made sense, and so we'll see where it goes. A month from now.
Again, the tease continues. We will get to that match in due time. Let me get some super chats here. It's we only get WrestleMania once a year, so we're allowed, or two nights a year, so we're allowed to have prolonged podcast. Scott Langford, more Canadians. Jeez, thank you, Jimmy. Gunther getting his NXT UK booking with his IC title reign. That's a very fair comment. Andrew 999, good enough for the old WWE Network. Night one has all the major emotional roller coaster match. Dom versus Ray and the tag match. Rhea versus Charlotte was amazing. Tonight, outside the main event, there wasn't another big emotional match. So Andrew definitely, and again, we'll kind of rank it, but I think, Raj, I gushed over this. I said Rhea versus Charlotte is one of the best world title matches at WrestleMania ever. And I know I did not say women's world title. I just said world title in general. I thought what that did was just incredible. That's my
I don't know if you saw my tweet, but I said that was one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. Right. And there were different levels. Like Hulk versus Andre is a different thing. Hulk versus Rock is a different thing. Shawn versus Kurt Angle is a different thing. I thought Charlotte versus Rhea was one of the greatest WrestleMania matches they've had.
Yeah. And you can even make a case real quick again with Gunther that this IC title match was one of the, at least again the last 20. I mean, this in the last 20 years, that was maybe one of the best IC title matches on Mania, and that's a little bit of a cheap thing for me to say because there's many years where they didn't have an IC title match at Mania. So.
Exactly.
Or any.
And
or US.
And like we've been trying to say tonight, they elevated that championship again tonight with Gunther. And I saw Dylan Matthews, our esteemed friend here that chat jumps in on the chat every once in a while, that Gunther should not lose the title. He should give it up. Dylan, if you're going to do it that way, I don't know. But if you were to give it up, it would be maybe he wins Money in the Bank. And then in cashing in Money in the Bank, that's when he,
I don't like it. I don't like guys or girls working as physical as guys like tonight is and just giving up title. If anything, you be a shark and hold all the belts or something. I don't like.
Yeah, because imagine what it'll do for the person who eventually defeats that person for the title.
Yeah,
I think there's working smart and working just working to get yourself over. But I think you look at, you could chop each other to death and cause heart problems or whatever. Ultimately, I think Gunther has to show himself as a personality to get to that next level. Mm-hmm. He could have great matches all he wants, but he's not going to be a main event guy until he's showing that he can be a true personality.
I agree. Right now, he has his two compadres and Imperium, but I do think he needs. Well, I don't know if he has it in him. I don't know. I don't know if he has it in him to come out and be a personality, or if they need to strap a manager to him. But I do agree that there's gonna come a
great.
Yeah, he physically has got it, but he's gonna eventually you're gonna have to still talk people into the building to an extent. So I think it's a fair point.
You're not going to draw people to WrestleMania be on chops,
Right. Well, and again, that's why I said, even if he had retained, well, he did retain. Had he retained, and even if had Cody come out of this with the world title, that's what I mean. Cody versus Gunther right now is not going to be a marquee draw. It's going to sell a stadium out. Right. Eventually, it could, but you need to continue to build that aura around Gunther. You almost need to have Brock versus Gunther and Gunther beat Brock. You almost need to have something like that to start to, but you still need some talking elements. But you almost need something like that. And look, they're going to be in London. I know Gunther's Austrian, so I'm just kind of lumping a portion of the world together here. But they are going to be in London for Money in the Bank. I don't know if they're doing another Clash in the Castle, but I mean they have some international big events coming up in this year. Maybe that's where you have Gunther and a Brock, and not only would that again get Gunther over, but Brock challenge for the IC title again elevates the title. So just fantasy booking the things to think about. But I think that's a big project here in 2023 is to watch. Is Gunther's a guy they want to be a big deal, but there's still some things to do with him on the entertainment side of it, not on the physicality in wrestling, but the entertainment side. Hitting some more super chats while we can get them. Allison, really appreciate the monetary value. I'll read it, but I don't know if I quite agree with you. She says, Allison Tuckwop says, for $19.99.
Wow.
What's going to happen to the superstars when they close the doors? Will they just continue the wrestling when UFC joins up with the WWE in one package? Well, Allison, we're talking about sports entertainment and pro wrestling that is one genre, and UFC, which is a completely different genre of show and real sport combat. So I don't think it's going to happen. But
no.
It is a deadly combo with WWE and UFC under the same umbrella, same publicly traded company. That is basically, look, I would always be critical of when you have best promo of the year and you have a UFC guy against a wrestling guy, because it's such a different thing when you're cutting a real promo when you're fighting somebody as opposed to when you're cutting a wrestling promo. And, like the Wrestling Observer, they kind of combine that. It's like, it's not the same thing. And now seeing those combined in the same umbrella, it's going to be interesting. I mean,
you would know better than I do how the business end of this works, Raj. But at the same time, I think they have to treat it like they're two separate entities. Yes, they are both in the sports entertainment world, so to speak. But at the same time, you can't say, well, it works here, it's going to work there.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Whether you agree with Vince or not, Vince McMahon says that WWE is weekly television entertainment. And that's, treating it that way made it into the company it is today.
It's funny. I was having a conversation with someone just a couple of days ago, and we were talking about all the people that Vince laid off and how many have really made it since they've been back. LA Knight was never laid off. I feel like he was one that was being downgraded, but he has proven himself. But as far as the guys that he let go, how many have really shown that was a mistake?
Yeah, I mean,
good question.
Some of the biggest ones for me were, Bray Wyatt, Karrion Kross, Braun Strowman. Braun's, Braun's an attraction to me, but he's in this oddball pairing with Ricochet.
Yeah.
Kross, I loved Kross in NXT, but it's not quite hit there. And then the Bray, I mean, we talked about earlier, there's something that's maybe going on, but but it's a fair question.
It is fair.
I can't think of anyone.
Right.
It's a fair question. Sorry, we have super chats just coming. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss them. I'm trying to keep up with that.
We got 15. We got to get into the show.
I'm moving here. We're moving. We have stuff to talk about here. Will, I appreciate yours with more Canadian dollars. Josh, I see your other one about Snoop Dogg. We'll get there. Jim, I see your comment. I hate it. So step there. Aubrey, we'll get to Oscar here in a minute. Marvin, can we do Marvin's now?
Let's do it.
Let's do Marvin. We'll do Marvin's. We'll do Marvin's. We're getting ready to move into the women's belt here. Marvin asking Marvin B. After this Mania, I'm wondering if 2 equal belts for the women is the right move. I'd like a main title in mid card and tag a women's roster. So Marvin, you're asking for more title belts to be equal for the women's division. They don't give enough out. They give more time to the women than ever, but we almost need a women's only show in order to satisfy all the stories that would need to be told for those titles. Jimmy, do you agree, or what do you think of this?
No, that's exactly what I was thinking, because how do you get all these women on television? You said the roster is so deep and so huge right now. You have to give them television time to tell their stories, especially if you're going to add more titles to the picture. So if the women did have their own show, then you can make a case for it. Other than that, I think having a Raw Women's Champion, a SmackDown Women's Champion, and a Tag Team Champion that could float between both shows right now is enough.
Raj, they did a women's only pay-per-view before. They did Evolution. It did not do great business. It was only one show. But could a women's only show sustain, or is that something where it's like a Peacock only thing? What could they do with the women?
I think personally, no women's only things, no men's only thing. They're the same. Just give more time for the storylines for the women. I feel like we haven't had a good singles storyline with the women in a long time, and I don't think you need a women's only show. I just think you need to do them equally. Can you push a women's feud as equally as you have with like Roman and Sammy? Can you have that kind of storyline? And once you've shown that you can, like I feel like you got equality. But I don't think just having more content for the sake of trying to prove something is the right way to go.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the women. Let's talk about the Raw Women's Championship match. That is our Raw, or our Women's World Title match of the night. Asuka up against the defending champion Bianca Belair, who I believe Bianca won at last year Mania, so this is her 1 year mark defending this title. This is a babyface versus babyface match technically, even though Asuka's been playing mind games and missed and such. It's still a baby versus baby, and Asuka very much got a lot of crowd support tonight. I want to give a shout out real quick to the entrance for Bianca specifically, and I didn't write it down. I'm kicking myself I didn't. I don't know if it was the little queens of Compton or the princesses of Compton, but it was a young ladies dance group from Compton, obviously a neighborhood in LA, and they danced to the first minute or whatever it was of Bianca's theme song, and then Bianca came and she did a dance with them, and it was really impressive, and it actually had a lot of feels. If you told me, oh, we're gonna bring young ladies out and have them dance, that sounds like kind of generic, but when you watch it, it gave me a lot of feels. And when I saw Bianca out there and she started dancing on them, it had a really good moment to it. So I just want to give a shout out to that. I thought this was,
once that hit, it was like you want her to win. No matter what.
Yeah. So just want to give a shout out to that. Obviously entrances are a big part of Mania. So I want to give a shout out to that. Basically, this match, I thought this match went off better than what the build had given us. Bianca at the end here, she avoids the mist, and then through her strength that she has, her natural core strength that she has, she's able to hit the KOD, and she retains. So no new champion on the Raw side of the Women's World Title, not like SmackDown. Bianca retains. Raj, was this the right decision?
I think so. I think look, Bianca has been she's a superstar. She just hasn't found quite that right storyline yet. She's there. She's ready. I feel like they need to, whether it's Sasha Banks coming back or someone, but this wasn't the match for her to lose. I just felt like it was perfect. She should have won, and Bianca Belair is a superstar, and my daughters were watching with me, and they were just like so impressed with her. And sometimes you watch wrestling through your own eyes, where you've been watching it for 30 years or whatever, and then when you see it through your kids and you see like what they think is cool or what they think is hip or whatever the term is,
whatever the kids are saying these days.
Whatever the kids are saying. You get a different appreciation, and Bianca's it. They were all into her. And
so, sorry to cut you off, Raj, but I want to, Chris, Ricky, Skeeter, they're all filing in. I guess this was on the press conference. Deadpool, and then Mnek, Mike, I'll put his up because he gets the most explanation. Hunter said the little girl who contorted her body in the dance had her mother pass away this morning, and all the other people I just named said something similar, saying that one of the young dancers' mom passed today. And Mike said props to her for doing the show, and props to WWE. That's unbelievable. I mean, that little girl couldn't have been no more than 10 years old.
Right.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. That's the.
So wow.
So incredible. I don't know what to say. That's heartbreaking.
That's really heartbreaking. Well, I was a little unexpected downer. But I mean, overall, so Bianca retains, and Jimmy. So Bianca continues. So she's now year plus in this title reign.
No, and I agree. I think it's the right choice because she ticks all the boxes, and you want to elevate that women's division. There's someone who projects stardom. She comes out, she ticks all the boxes. She's great in the ring. She performs well. She's got charisma. She can talk. So she ticks all the right boxes. And The challenge now is finding the right opponent for her to get people invested in the storyline going forward. Whatever that storyline
I
is.
think Charlotte Flair is that woman, but I think Charlotte's probably taking a little time off. But I think Charlotte and Bianca, I think Charlotte can be that heel to Bianca's baby face. Like, I think that could be money.
Raj, I said last night, the way that the match went with Charlotte and Rhea, the way that Charlotte, the way the camera caught her in her face, it kind of felt a little bit like she maybe was like her last match. It's probably not, but it did feel like feel like a passing the torch.
She's taking some time off. She's been wanting to take a little time off to do some competition bodybuilding. I mean, she was shredded in that match, and you could see it. But yeah, I think she's probably gone for a little bit, but she's still active.
Yeah. Let me give a few super chats here related to the women, and then we'll react. So Downtown CM Brown should be one main mid-card tag title for women for both shows that float across both. No more Raw and SmackDown brand titles. I kind of agree with that. I've never loved the SmackDown and Raw branded. To the same point, Fanny T, $1.99. Do they merge the women titles at some point? I guess the thing, Jimmy, I'll go back to you because you were a brother in stripes and blue so proudly for a while. I guess the trick is when you have the shows, when Raw's on an NBC Universal of USA and SmackDown's Fox, I guess it just becomes the battle of like, and they've managed to navigate the waters with Roman. He's primarily SmackDown, but he does make some Raw appearances, and then vice versa with some others. I guess it's just can you keep all your partners happy? I guess with equal exposure.
Well, it's a difficult process. Let's put it that way. But like you said, Justin, I agree. At least with the women, I agree with having a Raw Women's Champion and a SmackDown Women's Champion, and you keep them separate and exclusive to their brands. I think the tag team titles is where you can have the floating champion,
which the Usos have done just fine.
Yeah,
they've so
exactly.
We have a ways to go, but Jimmy, I do want to ask you this: How does Roman compare to other champions you've seen, at the top during your time?
He ranks right up there. He's in the conversation as one of the best because he exudes that aura. He has that aura about him. Do you know what I mean? Where he stands out above the others, regardless of what. Just you watch him tonight, and not to jump ahead too much, but watching his entrance, how he took his time, how he, his mannerisms, his subtle facial expressions, everything he does means something. You know what I mean? And he presents himself like a complete and total champion should.
Real quick, wrapping up the Bianca Asuka with this super chat. Downtown CM Brown also saying $5. Thank you very much. Bianca is great in the ring, but flat as a character. Asuka was getting a reboot and felt fumbled tonight. Now Asuka talking return to Japan, which sucks. I'm not sure where you're getting that talking to Japan. I mean, I think Bianca's a hell of a character. I think she really, Asuka did have a lot of momentum. Her return at the Rumble, the fan reaction tonight, the fan reaction was there. But the one thing I will say, and I love Asuka, but I will say that like Bianca is a better in terms of like the promos and the ambassadorships and the whatever. She can do more of that. But she does it better than Asuka.
Right. Well, Asuka, Asuka, in all fairness, would need someone to talk for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Asuka, I felt like she was an MVP during the pandemic era, and I felt like she has that. You see that charisma, that personality, but hers is spitting ooze. The last, like that was the story. Right. The last month and a half. Whereas with Bianca, I feel like there's more there. I feel like we haven't explored that yet. I feel like it's there. But
well,
yeah.
Well, and Raj kind of, because this is kind of like leaning into where you're going. So I just want to kind of, Aubrey James has been waiting for this one. So I want to get Aubrey out there for $20. Thank you, Aubrey. Asuka's buried. There's no way she's coming back from this. Bianca's getting to the Super Cena territory. Her title reign is boring. I don't think Asuka's buried.
No, she's not buried. It's just a different presentation, and I don't see Bianca as being the Super Cena territory. I don't think her title reign is boring. I just think you need the right story. Like we were talking about earlier, the build up to this match at WrestleMania was missing something. It needed more. There needed to be more of a story, and that is not Bianca's fault. I think she does have a lot of charisma. She has a lot of talent. She has that it factor.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a story attached to it to get people invested as well.
100%. I agree.
All right. So a lot of thoughts there with the Asuka situation. JS Jenkins, more Canadian dollars, loonies and toonies. Already hearing that Steve Blackman will get a UFC title shot once the purchase is complete.
Fuck yeah!
Oh, Steve Blackman versus
with the nunchucks.
Only if the match takes place at Baggage Claim.
What is this?
Give us the story, Jimmy. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh no, there was an incident at Baggage
Claim
with JBL
whole story.
and Blackman. I guess JBL was having a little fun with Blackman, so Blackman got pissed off and went to throw a kick, but his leg got caught in one of the bags, like it just happened to be there. Oh, you can't even describe it, and then of course JBL starts laughing, which made the situation even worse. Before everybody had to calm down the situation, but yeah,
a Samsonite bag took down Steve Blackman.
No,
his foot got caught in like the handle or what?
Yeah, you know those duffels that have the big handle that he went to throw the kick and his leg got caught in the handle of that big duffel, and it was, oh my goodness,
that's tragic.
JBL's the one who tells the story the best because, anyways.
That is so. Are JBL and Steve Blackman cool at this point?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it okay to ask you about Rick Steiner? Did you ever see any of the ribs that he did?
No, thankfully I was not there for that night. I was more there for the ribs that Owen was there doing.
Yeah.
Kevin Landry, $20. Thank you, Kevin. Nice to see you three. Thank you, Kevin. I really miss Matt Morgan. Well, Matt's always
we all do.
I think he's a supporter of wrestling still. Compared to last night, tonight was weak, with the exception of Roman versus Cody. So, all right. So the temperature's being took that night one told night two to follow it, and night two could not follow it.
Yeah. And like last year, I thought it was the same thing, right?
Interesting. All right. Is that all the super chats for this current moment? Again, all of you, I see you. We will get to. Oh, hang on. All right. Well, again, Allison, we just kind of already hit this real quick, but she says, "Where's Bray Wyatt? He was there. Now he's gone." Same thing with Alexa. Alexa, I think actually she even admitted she had she even revealed. I shouldn't say admitted. Revealed she had a little bit of a medical procedure done. I think related to.
And she was on whatever that reality show was.
Right.
The Masked Singer.
Masked Singer. Yes.
So Alexa, I mean, I think I want to say it was a skin cancer, or maybe not cancer, but skin related.
It was.
So Alexa, I'm sure she'll be back when creative has something for her, and then Bray Wyatt again, as Raj kind of alluded to, and it's been out there anyways that he's dealing with something that's not, it's not creative. He's when he's ready and healthy and can go, he'll go. So we'll just sit and be patient, and look, it's Raw after Mania. You never know. Maybe this weekend. They just keep coming. I'm trying to catch them all.
Thank you guys.
Yes, appreciate it.
Nelson, WWE could go to new heights, and Nyla Rose came to the company and beats Ripley and Belair to become the undisputed champion. So Nyla Rose booking there.
There you go.
I don't know. Again, I haven't seen her in a while. I don't watch Dark, and I don't watch all the other ones. I don't know if she's been featured in any of them, but a lot of things there. All right. I think that covers where we're at now. Moving on, and this might be one of them. This might be one of the most interesting things to get the play-by-play for. Again, if you did not watch Mania and you're looking for us to point you to what happened, bear with us. All right. So the Miz and Snoop Dogg, Miz and Snoop Dogg, the host of Mania. This looks like it's a setup of what we saw the night before, where Miz is going to find himself in a predicament because of his mouth. Miz and Snoop, they're in the ring. They announced 81,395 is the attendance for night two. That is just a little bit above the 80,000 and change from night one. They give the total. So between the two nights on the figures they're going with, 161,892. 161,892 is the total attendance that they are touting that contributes to the 21 million plus gate. So impressive numbers all the way around. There's a big old debate of how they do the numbers and attendance.
And
Raj,
regardless,
yeah,
subtract 20,000 from that, and how
so 60
incredible is that number? Regardless, 140,000 in a weekend for a wrestling show. That is insane.
In Los Angeles, where there's no shortage of entertainment.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so they do that. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Miz then turns his anger towards Snoop because Snoop put him in a match with Pat McAfee, an impromptu match the night before, and Miz had a $1,000 suit on, and it's kind of getting in Snoop's face, and then Snoop brings out a returning Shane McMahon. Now, Shane McMahon has not been seen since Rumble of 2022, where he came in at number 29, I think, and there's a lot of internal controversy of what went down with that.
Supposedly trying to beat the shit out of Brock Lesnar. I don't know.
Right. And look, and Shane and his father's relationship has not ever been perceived to be perfect, and so where Vince is at this point, and all this, like, there's a lot of soap opera dynamics just in seeing Shane. And oh, by the way, we're selling the company, so just seeing Shane, there's a lot to write down of what's going on here. But Shane comes out to a big pop. Here comes the money. He's got his custom WrestleMania ball jerseys on. He's doing all the Shane O'Mac shuffles and truffles to the ring. Gets in there, a little blown up in the ring on the mic, trying to address the LA crowd. Doesn't have too much to say. He wants to get right into it and have this impromptu match with The Miz. And just as they get into the sequences of feeding into the ropes and leapfrogging, Shane it just collapses. It looks like a wheel gives out on him. He tries to get back up again.
He
falls.
Jumped up and
he falls one or two more times. And he hits the ground, and Miz is kind of stalling. The camera shots all of a sudden get purposeful to not show the what's not going right, which is Shane, who's being attended to by the ringside medical staff. And then at this point, there's this, and Jimmy, I'm going to toss to you first here in a second, because this is where the referee that comes in for this impromptu match, this is where the referee is going to have to kind of quarterback this thing as best as possible. I don't know if the referee related to him or however happened, but here's what happened. And then Jimmy, I'm going to go to you. So now we have this impromptu match. It's dead in the water because Shane can't move his one leg. And Snoop gets back in, punches Miz. Then he leaves for a second. Then he gets back in and punches Miz again. And then he does his own version of Englewood's elbow, we'll call it.
Dude, he turned into Shawn Michaels when the NWO, when Kevin Nash,
right.
So
and fucking Snoop Dogg is the one that's like, all right, here's what we're gonna do.
So Snoop calls an audible and gets us through this segment. I retweeted a very respectable independent worker and Alex Hammerstone who tweeted Snoop Dogg works on the fly 90% better than 90% of today's indie wrestlers. Snoop's out there calling on the fly, does a people's Englewood elbow and gets the victory over the Miz, getting them through this. There is video that surfaced, cell phone video that showed Shane. This was not part of the act to make Snoop shine. Shane is legit injured and being held back. Kind of looks like a torn, maybe ACL. We'll find out. I think I'm sorry. I think Triple H actually did say in the thing, torn quads maybe. Nonetheless, bad news for a Mania segment. Jimmy, what the hell goes on in this situation? How do you do this? How did this? Snoop should get another Hall of Fame ring.
Yeah, no kidding. Hats off to him for executing. But definitely the referee plays a big part in helping communicate and, like you said, quarterbacking what they're getting fed from Gorilla and from the truck. And also whoever's at ringside at the timekeeper's table, and it's tougher for the announcers because they're mic'd up to the crowd at home, so they can't go into it. So whoever's at the timekeeper's table, whoever is closest to Snoop at the time, will try and relay the message, but the referee has to be the quarterback going in. And you could even see at one point, I think after he dropped the doggy dog elbow, that Miz pretty much told him, cover me. You know,
we have it on the screen here. Marvin B saying Snoop Dogg justifies his Hall of Fame spot just with tonight. We have some more, but before I put them up, I'll go to Raj. Raj, I'll say this because we've seen the best of this and we've seen the worst of this. This is where it's good to have celebrity involvements with celebrities who are fans of the product and recognize, oh shit, he's actually hurt. We need to get out of this, because if this was who's some of our worst celebrity involvements, if it's them out there, they're not
Miley Cyrus. They're like, go do the people's elbow. She'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right. So I mean, you've watched, you like me, you're a super fan. What was your reaction to this?
I thought Snoop, oh my god, the fact that because there was a good couple minutes where I'm like, was this part of it? You know, like, because Snoop played it off so well.
Yes.
And the way he was able to turn it around and turn the pin on Miz, it was, oh my God, he is just amazing. And I think he is, that's a Hall of Fame induction right there. You know, like,
I think he's already in the Hall of Fame.
But, you know, doing that on the fly, you know, usually actors and rappers and everything is played out way ahead of time. You know, you got your roll call, you know, everything. And then this was just literally like crazy on the fly, and Snoop adjusted and killed it. I want to get the super chat in because it's been there for a while, and it's good. And then I want to give you what went through my mind before Snoop called the audible. Josh Molnar. Josh says, I didn't have Snoop Dogg's people's elbow on my WrestleMania bingo card, but you have to give him credit for one hell of an improv. I love that, Josh. Absolutely. In the time that went on between, I was like, all right, this looks like Shane's actually really hurt. Yeah.
And then before Snoop came in and started doing his bit. In my mind, I'm like, all right, what do they do? In my mind went to, and Shelbowski had this for a while. What is it with the McMahon family and torn quad? My mind went to Vince coming out at Rumble when the finish botched, and Jimmy, you were still there for that. I think at the time
I was in the ring.
You were in the ring. All right, so my mind goes to that. We'll go to that. We'll go to Jimmy's story in a second. My mind goes to Vince tearing the quads. So now as I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, Shane's hurt. You need somebody to still kick the Miz's ass and pin him. Before I even knew that Snoop would be capable to do such, I had in my mind of Triple H is in Gorilla. He's telling the truck, hit my music. I'm going to come out and I'm just going to pedigree the Miz and just we'll call it a day. But no, Snoop just steps in. Jimmy, this is a good sidebar. This is where it's great. Again, no other podcast is a former WWE referee who has this kind of like the story. Jimmy, any memories from Vince from the botched Batista Cena double elimination and Vince coming out and tearing his quads?
Yeah, really quickly. That was the thing. They went over at the same time. Dave was supposed to hang on to the top rope. Cena hits the floor. Dave wins the Battle Royal for the Raw side as the Raw guy. Yeah. So when they both went over at the same time, you know, Jack Doan, who was a Raw referee, automatically raised Dave's hand. And then we hear in our thing, hey, one of the SmackDown refs go over and rave Dave, you know, so Cena's and we're doing the dueling back and forth. And while that's going on, we're hearing all refs in the back look for the general managers, who were Bischoff and Teddy Long at the time. Apparently they decided they had this split early. So here comes Vince power walking to the ring, and we could tell the difference between the Mr. McMahon power walk and the VKM power walk. Yes. And we went, ooh. So we're all standing in the ring, and he dives under he throws down his jacket. He dives under the bottom rope. He gets up. He starts falling backwards. And I bug Chad Patton to this day. We're telling him, you let the boss fall, because Chad backed up. He was right there. And he's sitting there, and everybody's stunned going, why is he just sitting there? And he's saying, come here. And he bellowed out his instructions of what he wanted us to do. At the time, we didn't realize how hurt he was, tearing both quads. But the big thing is, when he rolled out of the ring, guys went to help him to the back. He says, don't help me. I can do this. And he managed to get to the back on his own. which is amazing.
Did he crawl like a baby, or did he actually walk?
No, he was walking, holding onto the barricade, and just whatever.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine how we know how prideful he is and how he hates weakness. How embarrassed he felt because we know that he's.
Okay, I can understand tearing a quad, but both. Wow.
Yeah. At the same time, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Kevin says Snoop delivered the chronic elbow to Miz. Again, there is something all fitting that they're in Inglewood. I mean, this is
always up to no good.
This is Snoop's backyard, and unscripted, he gets to shine.
Yeah.
Like for a moment, I thought to myself, I'm like, did they just do a really elaborate work? Did Shane make that look really good? And then I saw the local video of like Shane being like basically carried.
I think because of how well Snoop played off of it, that was my thought too. It was like, oh, yeah, really? Is this the plan? Or
the only thing you could make a case for was maybe after the whole Shane Miz thing was to end afterwards, Miz was going to be a little bit upset with him, and they were going to do a little thing where he was going to do the people's elbow on him anyway. And they just went and said, okay, go straight to the people's elbow stuff. Right. And that's
what I do got to say with The Rock. Don't tease shit if you're not going to be there, it's going to raise expectations. Shut the fuck up.
All right, Raj.
Rock, shut the fuck up.
Raj, we have super chats coming to that. We're trying to get closer to the finish line here. We're getting there.
All right. Seriously, because that creates unnecessary expectations,
Francesco,
I didn't think it was going to appear, and then everyone's like, "Oh, Rock, you see his Instagram story." Francesco,
Brian, JB, Johnny, Scott, Cornell, we're all coming to you. We're getting there. I mean, this is a fun show. We got a lot going on here. Daniel, how much does Snoop's glasses fetch on eBay? Because he tosses glasses to the crowd. That's a valid question. That's actually somebody check eBay tomorrow.
$400 or $500.
Yeah, no kidding.
100, more than 100, I think. Somebody will get for him. All right. Well, I'd like to say that things continue to plan after this, but they did not. And here we go. And we'll have one more here. Chris, I think Snoop Dogg is the first celebrity to really earn his title belt.
Thank you, Chris.
Good call with a $5, Chris. All right, up next, it is the Hell in a Cell match between Edge and Finn Balor. A long time coming since we've had a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania. Lot to kind of unpack here real quick. This is Edge's 14th Mania match. Edge does his Brood. It says Brood Edge on the screen. He does the fire up through the stage entrance, but overall, there is no traditional Brood music. There's no Gangrel or anything like that. Brian Barry, super chat. He's been waiting for a while for this $1.99. Love the Slayer South of Heaven theme for Edge. So yes, and Corey Graves even made a comment to it about his bingo card. He never thought he'd have Slayer in WrestleMania. So Edge's entrance. We also have a cross promotion going on here. There's a new movie coming out in Hollywood. It's called The Pope's Exorcist, starring Russell Crowe. And they cut in between a monologue of Russell Crowe's character talking about demons and extracting demons. And so that's being done as an interpromotional thing here. We get Finn Balor's demon for the first time in a long time. That famous entrance. He's got the face paint and everything on. Of course, he's Judgment Day themed still to an extent. Real quick, because there's so much more to unpack, so I want to stop here. To both of you. First off, I had a lot of disconnect with everything that happened here. I like the cross promotion of a major Hollywood movie that's coming out, right? That's cool. Russell Crowe, Academy Award winner, cool. But I had a disconnect. My disconnect on the Edge thing is you're calling it Brood Edge. Well, why not at least sample a little bit of the Brood music, first off? And then to the Finn Balor thing, this is supposed to be Hell in a Cell at Mania, first time in a lot of years, the most violent payoff match you can have to this long-standing, year-long feud with Judgment Day and Edge. But they have Finn come out in the demon with the same demon music that gets him. That was all the babyface reaction. Like, this did not feel like a dangerous, violent demon. That's I don't know. I had a huge disconnect with the entrances to that level. I mean, Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy. I guess I'll go to you. Am I nitpicking here, or what do you think?
No, you have a valid point, especially considering the music with Finn Balor, because, like you said, that was his music he used when he was a babyface, and I could see that point. But with the Edge one, you know, he was teasing that Brood thing and coming up through the fire and the whole thing, but it was Edge that came out, not Brood Edge. And I know a lot of people were speculating that.
But the screen said Brood Edge and his jacket said Brood. So I was just,
no, why not play the I don't know. And I know there was rumors out there that maybe Gangrel was going to be a part of the entrance and maybe someone else from the Brood past, but no, we got none of that. We just got current Edge, which I don't have a problem with, but if you're going to tease something, at least give us a little something.
Raj, am I nitpicking, or did I fantasy book myself into a corner here?
I agree with you 100%. I was expecting it, and one of my top 10 '90s entrance music was the Brood. That dun, 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 it was just freaking awesome. I was so excited to see that, and then when we got, it's like he had the mask and whatever. It just was, I don't know.
Right.
Anyway, whatever.
But I'm not wrong to criticize. You're on my side here, at least of the
absolutely.
All right. Well, that aside, so we get to the match. All right. So Hell in a Cell. Really the big, there's some cool spots. He pins Finn at one point. He kind of barricades him with kendo sticks in the corner. There's some really cool spots. But really where the tide turns is Edge has a ladder, and he chucks the ladder at Finn, and it busts Finn open. Finn's forehead takes the impact. His head takes the impact, at least, and it clearly busts him open. The cameras, they are being very careful. The directors are being very careful not to shoot the bloody Finn face. They're avoiding it. The match essentially just comes to a pause, and they bring in the ringside medical to come in to stitch up Finn, at least, which is what they're trying to do. Finn's resisting against it. Edge is trying to sell as best he can.
That was legit, right? This seemed like a legit, like there was something there.
Yeah. So again, before we even get to the Edge, before we get to the ending, let's again talk about this, because this was heavily debated on social. And Jimmy, again, as the referee, I'm going to go to you. They toss the ladder. Finn's bleeding profusely. They bring ringside in to come and try to stop this bleeding. Right. The big critique on social is, wow, this really cheapens the, this Hell in a Cell that's supposed to be this barbaric, anything goes, most, dangerous match ever, and we're stopping the match to clean up some blood. Which I understand that critique. I do. I guess my playing WWE Devil's Advocate is, again, we're parading to potentially new buyers, and if we don't want blood, that's one thing. Also, you can't determine in this time in 60 seconds if a guy has a concussion, but at least in protocol, you cover your ass. So you tried to check on him before he gets deemed later in the night that he has a concussion. I don't know, but I understand this does cheapen the gimmick a little bit of what's supposed to be this barbaric match. Give me your play-by-play as you watched this go down, and what would you have done?
I would have done exactly what they had done, because you have the safety of the talent to consider first and foremost. And I get the idea that the structure is supposed to be a barbaric structure, but they added other elements to this, like tables, ladders, and chairs. Oh my! And it just. You run the risk of this happening when you do spots like that, especially something like if you see the replay several times, when Edge threw that ladder, yes, Finn got his hands up, but that one step or rung of the ladder was right there that just, bam.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to protect yourself against that. And there you see it posted there. Finn posted a pick 16 stitches, but I'm assuming the 16 stitches may have come later, because I think temporarily what they do is they use this glue to kind of glue it for a temporary basis until they can get back and lay him down and really do a proper stitching. But I get the idea that it takes away the momentum of the match or whatever the case may be. But at the same time, it also tells the audience how serious this is.
Raj, let me go through the rest of it. And I want you to take it from here. So they end up regathering. They get back in. They do some more spots. Ultimately, Edge ends up beating Finn with a concerto to him. He gets the victory. So Edge ultimately gets the vengeance, so to speak, on Finn and the Judgment Day. But Kevin Landry here, $2 saying this felt like a match on Raw. Is this a low point in the show, or is that an unfair thing to say?
God, it was one of those where they're working their asses off, but I felt like it didn't feel special.
Yeah,
like the whole time you're kind of like, gosh, I don't know, man. They again, I hate saying this because they were working their asses off, but it just felt like not special. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think, I saw, again, it's unfair, but, like people resort back to, the Hell in a Cell in Saudi Arabia a couple years ago when it was Fiend and Seth Rollins and the stoppage. I think, maybe this is a thing about Hell in a Cell that there needs to be regained some violence and whatever. But I get people's critique, but I defend it as, if you're getting ready to sell the company for several $1 billion and you're touting off to people, again, you're not going to be able to identify if somebody has a concussion right in that moment, but it's going to cover your ass, essentially, that you at least had your medical personnel that's there ringside come in, stop the bleeding, and just, like if they're stopping the bleeding and Finn's closing his eyes, you can say to the ref, this person cannot go anymore, whatever. I mean, it covers your ass, I guess. So not a fun situation to be in on your biggest night of the year.
No, absolutely. And sorry to cut you off there, but little things that you can't do a complete concussion protocol thing in less than 5 minutes, but you do speak to the talent. You talk to me. What is your name? Do you know where you are? Do you know what is going on here? And if they can answer those questions, then at least there's a better chance of them not being concussed, and you can move forward there. But if they are not aware of their surroundings and not aware of what's going on and stuff like that, you have to call it.
Right. Again, it's covering your ass. It's if they don't do that, and then it finds out that Finn has it's covering your ass to not make this worse. And again, if you're in the process of selling your company for several $1 billion, the last thing you want is a talent to get rogue and unhappy and try to file a lawsuit or something like that, and that could blow up an entire sale, quite honestly.
Absolutely.
So a lot to play in there, but it sucks that this match is kind of so tainted with this kind of debate, because it is a year's worth of story. But I kind of hope this is the end of the Edge and Judgment Day stuff. I don't know what more.
Oh my God! Please.
Yeah. So we'll table that there. Not much to say here. I'll just acknowledge that they recognize the Hall of Fame class that went in on Friday night, and I'll just say this for my own thing: Stacy Keibler.
Oh my God.
She is a fine wine.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Fine wine.
And as someone, I posted on my Twitter tonight, you can go find it, as someone who was truly honored to not only have worked with her, but also to be dunked into the gravy bowl by her.
I'll get dunked into a gravy bowl any day of the week.
I hope you're not overly religious, because Jesus Christ, there's some.
She looked great in her Sunday night attire for Hall of Fame.
Oh my God.
All right, so we have like we have like
are we on air?
Yeah, we're on the air. We're
Jesus.
This mic's
we're live, pal.
We're live, pal. All right. Before any others come in, we have like 13 super chats all related to this final match. I'm gonna go through this match. I'm then gonna go through the super chats to acknowledge everybody.
Right.
Because everybody's super chat is going to then lead into what we're all going to talk about. So I don't think we need to like answer each one individually. We're going to get to it. So like everybody just hang tight. Here we go. That's what we're all waiting for after an hour and 40 minutes. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, 7th WrestleMania main event. He is the first person ever to have the same title defended 3 straight Manias in a row. This is the 15th WrestleMania main event for a member of the Anoa'i family to headline Mania, which was kind of a crazy stat. But then I sat and thought, when you factor in Romans, when you factor in the Rocks, and then you factor in Yokozuna, that will equal up to your 15.
Wow.
So there you go. Roman's last loss, his last pin, was December of 2019. So yes, we have gone through a pandemic and all since Roman has last been pinned in WWE. There are your fun facts. Thank you very much, Michael Cole. First thread of the night is Solo Sikoa comes out with Roman. Solo and Paul Heyman are out there. Solo gets himself involved 2 times. Ref doesn't see it. Finally, the 3rd time with the whip of the Cody Rhodes weight belt. The ref hears it, turns, sees, ref ejects Solo Sikoa. So it looks like Solo is now out of the equation. Later, Cody, he's put in the guillotine by Roman, which Roman has used for submission at times. Cody breaks out of that. He comes alive. Ref bump after that. Ref's down. What's going to happen? The Usos come out, outnumbering. Usos attacking Cody. KO and Sammy come out. That equals that off, and they neutralize each other. Cody fires up. He does a Dusty Rhodes tribute with the bionic elbow. He hits several of the crossroads. Paul Heyman distracts the referee. Solo Sikoa comes back out in disguise, uses that Samoan spike. That then transitions into Roman hitting the spear. And 1, 2, 3, Roman Reigns beats Cody Rhodes to retain and continue his 945-day title reign. He beats Cody Rhodes. Cody has his wife, his daughter, his sister, his mother, has the late Brody Lee / Luke Harper's oldest son ringside, gets all the heroes welcome. All that said, Cody Rhodes looks up at the lights for the 3 count to Roman Reigns. Gentlemen, table your thoughts for a second. Let's fire through all these comments. We will answer all of these in some form or fashion. So here we go. Thank you for the patience, Ricky Bruno. What's next for Roman? Who's the challenger? We will talk that. Downtown CM Brown. Despite the great match, the main event conclusion felt WCW Sting versus Hogan. Where does Cody go from here? Table that one. Tyrone. Roman's promos are you run when you can't cut it. Now with the last, Cody can prove he won't leave, and we'll have a win at Backlash. So now we're taking this to Puerto Rico. Hell with Hollywood, we're going to Puerto Rico. Downtown CM Brown. If Roman is to hold the title long term, how do Owens, Zayn, and Rhodes continue this feud hot that long? Seems like they could lose quickly. So yes, there is the subtext of the bloodline. Josh, any guesses for surprises on Raw tomorrow night? Actually, Josh, I'm gonna table you. I will go back to you. Josh, we will go back to you. Joel, been waiting a long time. Joel, thank you very much. 1999. Justin, Jimmy, Raj, love the show. Thank you. With Roman winning tonight, when do you think we will have our next champion and who? So table that one. Who is Roman going to finally lose it to? I fully support Roman, but seriously, what's next about Cody's story? Jim V, wow, what a mania. Best in years. Roman must have been training the Rocky IV montage. What's next? A 6-man tag at Backlash. Washington Commanders suck. You suck, Jim. Francesco. Triple H saying this story will continue. I guess in the press conference. Hear me out. Cody goes over at Mania 40. We're booking to Mania 40. Monday after main event promo. Cue MJF's music, built-in story. Whoa, buddy. JB till infinity. 2 weeks ago, everyone said it was Sammy who deserved the Roman match, and now it's Cody who should have won. He wrestled 1 pay-per-view match since a Hell in a Cell. He needs more time. We're getting close to the end here. Johnny, night 2 was doomed when after KO and Zayn got that pop. I'd be curious if they changed the concerned that Cody wouldn't get the same ovation. That's the theme that we're going to run into here in a second here is changed decisions. Roman, shout out Dwayne and his presser, a.k.a. The Rock. This is Cornell Bryan saying this. Cornell says, should they make Rock a member in the bloodline and a Godfather role till Roman turns on him and sets up Mania 40? So the all-present Rock booking. Randy, all I'm going to say is I'm impressed Cody did not win, but hey, at least he got to main event Mania, so there's some optimism there. And the last one that has come in, unless I just missed more, T. Smitty, $10, 1,000 day sounds nice and all, but this was a generational moment to crown the next guy. People complain about Bianca being stale. but these Roman matches are going the same way. Did any others? Kevin Landry, Cody is already getting booed, so this was the right call. Real quick, hang on before I toss to my esteemed my esteemed analyst here. Nelson says Roman should recruit Nyla Rose to the bloodline and have her win undisputed title. Well, she's not part of the Anawahi family, so I don't know if that would grow. Star Tracker tracks super sticker. Thank you very much. And I think that's going to be it for now. Jimmy Korderas, the floor is yours.
I don't know where to begin. It's in this business, one of the biggest things, it's all about timing, how you present someone. And I know people are saying that Triple H said in the press conference that this story is going to continue, but there was a right time for this. I just don't know if they can get that momentum back for Cody after this build to this moment and how it happened. You know what I mean? I think, in my opinion, this was a lost opportunity. This was the right time for Cody to be elevated to the next level and be the anointed one. But I guess someone else saw a different vision. And if this story is going to continue and you are eventually going to put the title on Cody, will it feel as special? I mean, obviously there's ways you could try to get there, but I don't know. It just felt like it felt right tonight that it should have been the night.
Raj, do they have a grand master plan ahead, or did Vince come in and call an audible and tell Triple H, we're not doing this?
It felt very, you know what? This is one of those cases where Triple H has been a bunch of steps ahead to where I'm not doubting him. So maybe there is some grand plan, you know? Like I was surprised. I thought Cody was the natural Cody winning was the natural ending. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
I said this before. You don't get to capture lightning in a bottle this often. The most recent example was when Brock had his long run. Braun felt like he might have been lightning in a bottle, and they didn't capitalize it then. Now you have Cody with the Rhodes family dynasty. There's the factory, comes back over from AEW, blah, blah, blah. And to have him lose, and Brian Barry's joking, I've seen this on social. Triple H remembers Cody destroying the throne in AEW. To have him lose here, now you go to Puerto Rico, which I kind of agree. You're probably doing something with. I kind of figured Puerto Rico is going to be kind of headlined by like Damian Priest, who's Puerto Rican, and Judgment Day going up against Ray and Bad Bunny and LWO in some form there. I wasn't even factoring Roman and Cody or any of the likes to be necessarily the headline for this.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's say that let's go on the wildest dream. Let's say that The Rock called Vince or called Triple H in the last couple of weeks and said, I am in, put it in ink. I'm there for Detroit for SummerSlam. Okay. So now what are we doing? Now Cody has to rebound after falling short of telling his story. Reigns can disappear for a month or two. It's fine. He doesn't have to be around every week. He's not around any week. So now we build to Roman versus Rock, which would do a tremendous box office. But what happens? Either Roman beats Rock, which makes Roman look even crazy strong, or Rock beats Roman, but then what is Cody going to come beat The Rock? That's very unpopular. I just don't, at this point, I don't know. I think where we even go from this? You know?
I think the ultimate point is that beating Roman Reigns means something. And yeah, you could say oh, well, this and this happened and this happened, but you're not getting a win over the Roman Reigns unless it makes sense.
But what more? It couldn't, Raj. It couldn't have made any more sense than tonight. What did Cody get hurt?
We thought that with Drew. We thought that with Sammy.
I think this is no. I think we all.
I think Sammy. Everyone was saying Sammy was should have won that match.
No, I was not. I even said people wanted to see Sammy beat Roman Reigns because it was Roman Reigns. People want to see Cody become the world champion, who just happens to be Roman Reigns.
Sure.
I don't know at this point now. What do you want? What is there left to see? And Shabosky asked, does Cody have a multi-year contract? Is it even remotely possible he only signed a 1-year deal? I doubt that. I don't know for a fact. Raj,
Cody's fine where he's at.
Yeah, I think Cody's fine. I think fine. I think he's sad. I don't think he's like regretting that he came to WWE. But where do you go? Like, who is Roman's next challenger? Do we have a series of rematches with Cody? And if Cody beats him on the rematch, does that make it that? Is it still a special?
It's how you tell a story. How do you get to the rematch? Because he had his match, he lost. What's his excuse? Oh, you needed outside help. And do you take it in that route where, because it was a traditional old school heel victory where, you had the ref bump, you had the help from his cohorts, his family member, and he retains his championship in heel fashion. But again, to what you were saying, Justin, and I agree with you, there is a right time to do something. And the way they built this up tonight felt like the right time for that moment to have dethroned Roman Reigns and anoint Cody Rhodes as the new champion.
We'll never know. Yeah. We'll never know unless Cody, Roman, or Paul Heyman or somebody comes out and says, I would love to know the answer to this question. The most honest answer. Was this the plan all along? Mm-hmm. Was Bruce Prichard the other day said, we've been planning for Cody versus Roman at Mania since August. Was the plan since August to do this, but to have Roman retain? Was that the plan all along? Or did something happen that all of a sudden triggered, we're going to keep it on Roman?
I've been saying for the last week that it's not as predictable as it seems. I thought there was a very good chance that Roman wins because business is booming. And do you want to fuck it up when everything is at such a high level right now?
Well, Stella Justin Lopez says a comment, which kind of segues into one of my next comments here, which is he says it's basically like the streak now, referring to Taker streak. Cody is just another victim, so it won't mean as much when he finally beats him. I have to say, my reaction as I've marinated on this now for the last 2 hours, I can't remember the last time that I was more shocked at a major result of a major match at Mania since, and I was there live, since Taker's streak was broken. I at that point I thought, Taker's not losing. I thought for sure Cody's not losing. Cody is winning. I was shocked, even to the point of, and then Jimmy, I'm going to toss this because this is a referee question. To the point of, there's a famous thing, and there's an internal reference in booking called a dusty finish. Mm-hmm. Which, for those who don't know what a dusty finish is, it's when 1, 2, 3 the match result happens, but then maybe another referee comes out or something happens and that result gets overturned and we restart the match. Mm-hmm. And then the opposite happens. So Jimmy, I even thought, okay, Roman just pinned Cody. What would be the ultimate dusty tribute? The ultimate dusty finish is that, Solo, who was ejected earlier, is now seen at ringside and we deem that he came back out and he made himself involved. So we're going to restart this thing and Cody's going to win. I kept watching. Roman even went halfway up the ramp and then they stopped. They cut to some replay. I'm like, we're stalling time. We're really going to milk this thing. And then they just went to the recap. I thought, Jimmy, give me the referee perspective. I mean, is this weird that we made a point to throw Solo out, but he still comes back? I know the ref didn't see it, but he still comes back out and does. I mean, does that cheapen this finish at all or what?
I don't. It makes it a heel finish, is what it does, and that was the whole game plan here. But I agree with you. I was expecting dusty finish. I almost expected to see like a Charles Robinson or somebody run down to the ring and tell the referee, "Hey, you ejected this guy right here. He came back and interfered when you got knocked down." Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? And I know people are going to say, "But then why doesn't it happen in every match that there's a ref bump?"
Right.
But again. Creative license, let's put it that way. But that's almost like what I was expecting. So I just hope that this wasn't done because a lot of people saw this finish coming, where they expected Cody to win the title.
Yes, because
and they just said we're just going to pull the swerve and not do it tonight. And I just worried that when let's say they do something tomorrow night, and even tomorrow night on the post Mania Raw, where Cody gets his last shot at it and he ends up winning it tomorrow, it won't mean as much.
Right. I would say forget the swerves, bro. Sometimes predictable is okay if it's logical. All right, we have let's get to the final round here. This will send us into our final thoughts there. Damon says they didn't say he beat Rollins or Lashley. Not quite sure what you're saying there. Scott Langford saying this result felt pointed for the gambling pundits. Everyone thought Cody would win, and they had a result no one predicted. They are doing a lot more of the DraftKings and such promotion, and odds do move. That's interesting to kind of think about. Kevin says it's all about money, and Cody will not draw like Roman is. I'm not a wrestling genius, so I may be wrong. Just my opinion. No, it's like Raj was saying about the business.
Mm-hmm.
Damon saying again, same thing about Rollins and Lashley. Johnny Rivers saying, would you kiss Vince's dumper if it meant you could age as well as Trish has? I asked the hard questions. Thank you.
Maybe
easy answer, no.
Yeah. And Josh asking kind of, I guess, what we all now need to say. Any guesses for surprises for Raw tomorrow night? So where do we go tomorrow night into Raw? Whether it's this storyline or anything else, what is left on the table? Because Roman Reigns is your champion. There's a lot of tentacles that we said can go to Puerto Rico or go whatever, but like, what are we doing for Raw tomorrow? What is the next step here, Jimmy?
That's a good question. I think he comes out in Raw tomorrow. He cuts the big promo, and he maybe chastises. I can't even say the word. It's so late on a Sunday night, now Monday morning. The Usos for not, representing the bloodline like they should have by losing the titles to those guys, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And maybe that plants a seed where, it ends up being Roman and Solo versus the Usos somewhere down the road.
Raj, tomorrow night.
I think, I thought, even though night 2 wasn't as good as night 1, I thought WWE nailed it out of the park. First WrestleMania under Triple H. I thought it was a home run.
Mm-hmm.
I think it shows like a change in leadership was needed, and we got it. It was home run. Hopefully it continues. We'll see what happens.
To further to elaborate a little bit on that, we were talking a little bit last night about old school and new school blending together well to present. And that's, I think, what WWE is doing really well right now, taking the old school and blending it with new school and presenting a product for everybody. There's something for everybody in their overall product.
Yeah, and just before we say our final of where this Mania ranks, the last super chats just came in here, so we'll do the final of the thoughts, which is Franny T saying, in my opinion, Cody winning was a plan until the Endeavor possibly deal became a thing. So, I mean, yeah, that's something, a factor we got to consider. JB Till Infinity says every recent face champion had the crowd to turn on them within 2 or 3 months. Is that really fair to Cody? Just get to the Detroit Stadium show. Shabosky saying, any chance Roman retires the belt so he can take time off and not ruin a streak, someone else wins and then he returns months. Nobody gets any rub or favors out of that in any which way. Daniel saying 1,000 days meant nothing now, but it looks good when he gets inducted in the Hall of Fame. Love it. For what it's worth, I thought it was the right call. Heyman said they are in the 3rd inning. Roman for 3,000 days.
Oh, wow.
The biggest thing I'm going to take away, and again, I'm taking this away from the wonderful chats of people keeping us kind of abreast to what's going on with the press conference, is that Triple H sounded like he made it clear to say, like, this is part of a bigger plan, almost like calm down. This is part of a bigger plan. WrestleMania is as big as it gets. I can't imagine what a bigger plan is. And again, unless you have some big thing where, like The Rock's going to help anoint Cody at a later time. I don't know. We're gonna have a lot more speculation. I'm gonna put an end to the super chats coming in here because we're trying to wrap it up. So I don't want anybody else to throw the money in. But let's final thoughts here, Jimmy. There's been 39 WrestleManias. I definitely think, and now we have 2 nights to combine. I definitely think this one falls in the top 10. It could probably be in debate of conversation of does it get to the fringe of the top 5. That's where you start to debate others and for what their values are. Certainly, it's one of the probably the most profitable one. But Jimmy, 39's in the books. Let's close the book on it. Where do you put it?
I definitely rank it in the top 10, and like you said, it's close to top 5, if not in the top 5. We said, night 1 was absolutely blew it out of the park, as you said, Raj. Night 2 had a few hiccups, but at the same time was still entertaining. So for you look at both nights and you combine them together, I think it was a little bit unfair that yes, night 1 said follow that. At the same time, I think people were, I don't know, maybe their expectations were higher than they should have been, and just try to separate the two and just enjoy both nights for what they were. And I thought overall, great weekend and good showing for WWE.
Raj, we got some unfortunate happen. I won't call them botches, but between Finn's blood stoppage and Shane's torn and whatever, and then the weird pacing and having Lashley come out with just the trophy for a minute. The pacing tonight was not as attractive as it was night 1, but still, it's 2 nights of Mania. 17, 30, 20, 21. These are all premier manias that always get talked about in the top 5. Where does 39 fit into this?
Probably okay. So, Justin, you personally, what's your favorite WrestleMania ever? One, if you had to pick one.
The first one I ever went to, and I still hold it as number 1 is 17. And number 2 is 30.
So for me, it's WrestleMania 3. See, Hogan, Andre, like the nostalgia and everything. It just you can't. It's a different thing. So, I don't know.
Is it top 10? Does tonight fall in the top 10 at least? We've had 39 manias. Does it crack? Is it crack almost 25% of the best?
I think the overall weekend does. I think it's a good solid number 8. So I thought it was. I thought it was a fun weekend.
Yeah, it was, and again, obviously financially, from what we can understand, a big success. And look, they're in LA from the economic standpoint of what do they bring to LA. They're in LA. Yeah. They're in LA again tomorrow night for Crypto.com.
You don't have to fucking slice someone's forehead up and.
Oh, we don't have to do all that.
We don't have to go. We don't have to go there.
And if you try, we will pause the match and we will have the ringside physicians come check on you.
There you go.
There's still still one more night here in LA, and for Raw. And look, this is a Raw that's always huge. So we might get answers to many of these questions tomorrow night. Jimmy and I will be back. Jimmy, who else is with Jimmy? I don't think we know. Raj, are you with us?
Are we still on right now, or are we off?
We're on the air.
Oh, we're still
on the air.
Yeah.
We're live, pal. Are you back with us tomorrow, or are you done?
I can't. Yeah. I'm on tomorrow night.
All right. So we're back tomorrow night. So we'll see what happens with Raw. Maybe some of our questions will get answered. He's at Jimmy Korderas on the socials. Again, you have a guy that refereed Undertaker WrestleMania
main events.
Yeah. So
before there were.
Great to see the interpretation of the rules broke down by him and answer all your questions. Raj, of course, happy to have him back on here, which might be his last premium live event ever. But he'll be on Raw tomorrow night. So maybe it's tomorrow night's his last Raw ever. I'm at Just LaBar on the socials. Again, please tweet us. Where in the world are you, Carmen Sandiego? Love to know how you're listening to the podcast, what you're doing. Again, like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. Appreciate it. That's going to do it for tonight. Thanks for everybody here on the East Coast in the U.S. staying up late for us as we are just approaching 2 a.m. in the morning. Good God, it's Monday. But it's been fun. WrestleMania only comes once a year, so it's been fun. And the three of us, will talk to you Monday night after Raw as we reset on the new WWE calendar year. Thank you. Good night.